Hello and welcome to all of you in Nigeria and around the world to midday news on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Ubong Usoro. A quick reminder, Global Television is on DSTV channel 365. Star Time is channel 276. The federal government has strengthened security cooperation with the United States to improve national security outcomes following a plenary session of the Nigeria-US Joint Working Committee held at the Office of the National Security Advisor here in Abuja. Information Minister Mohammed Idris says the engagement, co-chaired by Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu and U.S. Undersecretary of State Alison Hoker, has led to intelligence sharing, operational coordination, and renewed U.S. commitments to delivering military equipment, including drones and helicopters. The partnership is already yielding results through intensified operations, justice sector reforms, and improved early warning systems, assuring Nigerians that the government is acting decisively to secure the country. The Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress has issued a 14-day ultimatum to the federal government to implement the 2021 report on the adjustment of the consolidated health salary structure. The unions described the delay as deliberate injustice and discrimination against health workers, noting that similar adjustments for medical doctors under the consolidated medical salary structure were implemented without hesitation. They warned that the failure to act within the ultimatum period could trigger nationwide industrial action, stressing that health workers can no longer tolerate empty promises and bureaucratic excuses. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, has declared full support for the indefinite strike by workers of the Federal Capital Territory Administration, FCTA, describing the action as a necessary response to alleged violations of workers' rights. In a statement signed by NLC President Joe Ajoro, the union accused FCTA of failing to remit pensions contributions and the National Housing Fund deduction since May 2025, calling it a deliberate assault on the working class. The NLC directed all affiliated unions in the FCT to join the strike and mobilize for a court hearing on January 26, warning that failure to resolve the disputes could lead to further escalations. The Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, says the registration for the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination will run from January 26 to February 28 at the approved computer-based test centers nationwide. JAMB Registrar Professor Ishak Oloyede said the sales of application documents would begin ahead of the registration, while mock exam selection will close on February 16 and direct entry registration will run from March to April the 25th. He also added that computer-based test centers will be monitored live from JAMB headquarters, warning that centers not visible during registration risk invalidation and non-payment. The Nigerian military has declared that the reign of terror by notorious bandit kingpin Bello Tunji is nearing its end as troops intensify coordinated operations across the Northwest. The theater commander, Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Fasayama, Major General Wara Bello Idris, gave the assurance while receiving defense correspondents during an operational tour of the region led by the team commander, Commander Godwin Ebono. Our defense correspondent Kike Lomo was there and brings details.
The Theater Commander, Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Fasanyama, Major General Bello Idris says troops under Operation Fasanyama have sustained intelligence-driven offensives, degrading bandit strongholds, cutting off logistics routes, and neutralizing key collaborators in close synergy with other security agencies to attack and apprehend wanted criminals. It disclosed that recent operations have resulted in the recovery of arms and ammunition, destruction of bandit camps, and restoration of free movement along previously threatened routes, significantly weakening the operational capacity of 2G network. The theater commander stressed that the armed forces are not focused on containment, but on the total eradication of terrorist elements, reaffirming the military to resolve to deploy all available manpower and equipment to permanently end insecurity in the region.
Even based on the most current intelligence received, Bello 2G, Huasca and Karani are currently in confusion and panic. This is because of the intensity of our current operations. They are relocating after every few hours, every few days.
The theater commander explained that the Northwest Theater is structured into multiple operational sectors, covering Kaduna, Zamfara, Katsina, Sokoto, Niger, and part of Kebbi State, with troops conducting continuous operations including forest clearance, pursuit of fleeing terrorists, securing supply routes, and targeted rescue mission, including the recent operations at the Government Girls Comprehensive Secondary School in Kebbi State. Major General Idris also dismissed reports alleging the release of 70 terrorists, describing them as false and misleading, adding that no such directive exists. He therefore called on the media to remain partner in national security by disseminating verified information, countering misinformation, and strengthening public confidence in the armed forces.
A few days ago, through human intelligence, along with the technology available to us, we were able to arrest 3 major logistics suppliers. Currently, they are with us for further processing.
The theater commander reaffirmed the armed forces' commitment to professionalism, transparency, and their constitutional responsibility to restore lasting peace and stability in the Northwest across the country. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
Let's go to Anambra State, where the state government has banned Monday school closures, ordering all education workers to resume immediately or risk losing 20% of their salaries. This is according to a circular by the Anambra State Universal Basic Education Board dated January 22nd, 2026, signed by the board secretary, Honorable Mbabena Loblin E. The directive was issued following the State Executive Council retreat held on Tuesday, January 21st, 2026, and presided over by Governor Chukwuma Charles Soludo. The Nigerian Army says sustained military pressure has forced bandits out of major communities in Benue State, restoring relative peace to areas once notorious for frequent killings. Commanding Officer, Chief of Army Staff's Intervention Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Donatus Otobo, says the battalion has achieved 80% security control across its area of responsibility since deployment in July 2025. Again, Defense Correspondent Kikelo Mokere brings details.
Speaking with Defense Correspondent on a media tour at the battalion's forward operating base in Tachu local government area of Benue State, Lieutenant Colonel Otobo disclosed that troops encounter over 10 bandit attacks on their first day entering the area, but aggressive patrols, day and night ambushes, and coordinated operation have since neutralized criminal presence in Guma and Yelwata communities. He says Yelwata, once a flashpoint, has remained inaccessible to bandits since troops established dominance, forcing criminal fleeing pressure from Nasarawa State border communities to retreat.
That we dominate this particular ground and the entire Guma local government area with aggressive patrols, with day and night ambushes that have deterred the bandits from coming close. I'll just
The commander added that close collaboration with sister units in Nasarawa, as well as strong intelligence sharing with local hunters, community leaders and farmers has led to the arrest, disrupted hit-and-run attacks and improved early warning across difficult terrains. Lieutenant Colonel Otobo attributed the operational success to sustained logistical welfare and moral support from the Chief of the Army Staff, noting that civilian movement and farming activities have resumed along previously impassable routes.
That come from these three local governments. So far, the information we get is that because of the Coas Intervention Battalion 11, they are scared of moving in. So what they do now is they send in maybe 2 or 3 bandits, hit the farmers, and then run back. And we are also coming up with plans to see that we lay ambushes along suspected routes where they come in.
The Military High Command assures residents that troops will sustain pressure until displaced community fully return, reaffirming the Army's commitment to the mandate of Operation Wild Stroke and lasting peace in Benue State. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
The African Democratic Congress has called on the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to reschedule the forthcoming Federal Capital Territory elections, citing the need to respect the Ramadan fasting period observed by Muslim faithfuls across the world. ADC National Publicity Secretary Bolaji Abdullahi said this in a statement that the party had formally conveyed its position to the electoral body in a letter dated January 22nd. Noting that the ADC remains committed to supporting electoral arrangements that respect diversity. INEC has scheduled the Federal Capital Territory Area Council elections for Saturday, February 21st, 2026, which coincides with the Ramadan fasting period. Abdullahi explained that the letter also underscored that Pew was driven by the desire to safeguard inclusiveness in the electoral process. You're watching the live broadcast of Midday News. The Midday News continues after this weather forecast plus business and foreign sports stories on the other side of this break. Please do stay with us.
Hello, glad to have you with us on the weather forecast for Sunday. Residents of Sokoto, Zamfara, Katsina, Kano, and Jigawa environs are expected to experience moderate dust haze. Visibility here is expected to be in the range of 2 to 5 kilometers. If you're in this region and you're sensitive to dust particles, we advise to please take necessary precaution. To other parts of the north and north central, a sunny and hazy atmosphere is expected. While to the southern region of the country, sunny with few patches of clouds are expected, with possibilities of afternoon and evening thunderstorms in parts of Rivers and Bayelsa states. So if you stay in these areas, keep an umbrella handy. That's the forecast for Sunday. I am Theodora Itzum. Thank you for watching.
In business, some good news now as Nigeria's external reserves have crossed over $46 billion mark for the first time in 8 years. According to data released by the Central Bank of Nigeria, the reserve build-up reflects improved foreign exchange management and steady inflows since the introduction of the foreign exchange reforms, strengthening buffers for imports cover and currency stability. Analysts say the growth supports the Central Bank of Nigeria's outlook of reaching $51 billion by the end of 2026, alongside signs of stabilizing the exchange rates. Liquidity in Nigeria's financial market surged to 2.78 trillion naira as of January 23rd, representing a 31.75% increase from the previous week. Despite aggressive mop-up efforts by the Central Bank of Nigeria, analysts attributed the rise to a 2.2 trillion naira in treasury bills maturity, which outweighed liquidity withdrawals from the NTB auctions and the open market operations. They noted that strong maturity inflows kept system liquidity elevated even as the CBN withdrew over 3 trillion naira through multiple auctions. The Kano Electricity Distribution Company has suspended the industrial action by its workers after reaching a negotiated agreement with labor unions. Following talks involving the Nigerian Labour Congress, the Bureau of Public Enterprise, Core Investor Future Energies Africa, and the Kano State Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy, in a statement issued on January 23, 2026 and signed by the head of corporate communications, Sani Balasani, KEDO announced the immediate resumption of operations across Kano, Jigawa, and Katsina states, citing progress in resolving inherited issues such as unpaid pensions, employee emoluments, and outstanding benefits. The agreements include the immediate payment of 170 million naira in arrears, a commitment to clear additional salary obligation by February 2026, the establishment of an expanded dialogue framework, and assurances of no victimization, as KEDO pledged improved service delivery and stable labor operations going forward. Let's go to the foreign scene now. Catastrophic flooding across Mozambique has affected more than 640,000 people, with authorities confirming that over half of those impacted are in the Gaza province, where regional capital remains submerged. Emergency agencies say thousands have been displaced as shelters struggle to cope. Crops have been destroyed across key agricultural areas, and fears of hunger, cholera, and other waterborne diseases continue to grow. Humanitarian groups and the United Nations warn that children are especially vulnerable as weeks of torrential rains across southern Africa have killed more than 100 people and left Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and South Africa battling with one of the region's worst flooding crises in recent years. Sudan's Social Affairs Minister Suleiman Ishaq Al-Khalifa says women and children are paying the heaviest price in Sudan's ongoing conflicts as sexual violence and other abuses continue with near-total impunity. She also warned that the scale of violations against women is amongst the worst anywhere in the world, with armed groups accused of using sexual violence as a weapon of war. Global Television Mukhtar Kasim reports.
War, now stretching into its third year, has triggered what rights groups describe as a devastating crisis for women and girls. The conflict between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF) has killed tens of thousands, displaced millions, and been marked by widespread sexual violence. Speaking to AFP in Port Sudan, Social Affairs Minister Suleiman Ishaq Al-Khalifa said women are routinely targeted during attacks, looting and displacement, with survivors facing abuse across age groups and communities.
The next thing, which is more profound, is the sexual violence using as a weapon of war. It was systematic with the same scenario and different scenarios according to the places, like the same scenario in Jazeera and Khartoum, the same scenario in different scenario in Darfur and all Darfur. Because in Darfur, it's actually accompanying the ethnic cleansing.
The minister said her ministry has documented more than 1,800 cases of rape since the war began, though she warned that the true number is likely far higher due to stigma, fear, and the collapse of state institutions.
And in Khartoum, the girls have been accused of being liberal. Why you are fighting? The next thing, that you are the people who have been marginalizing us, you have taken our resources, and then they accuse them of saying that you are fulul. Fulul, that means the people affiliated to the previous regime.
Investigators say evidence points to coordinated campaign involving mass sexual violence carried out with a sense of total impunity. As fighting continues across Sudan, advocates warn that justice for survivors remain elusive, while the long-term trauma inflicted on women and girls threaten to deepen the country's humanitarian crisis for generations to come. Mukhtar Kasim, reporting for Global Television News.
Federal immigration officers have shot and killed a 37-year-old U.S. citizen and nurse Alex Pretty during an operation in Minneapolis, sparking conflicting accounts from state and federal authorities. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said agents fired defensive shots after Pretty reacted violently, while Minnesota Governor Tim Walz dismissed the federal account as false. The killing has also triggered protests in the city, with U.S. President Donald Trump accusing local leaders of inciting unrest. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has warned Canada that if it concludes a trade deal with China, he will impose a 100% tariff on all goods coming over from the border. Relations between the United States and its northern neighbor have been rocky since Trump returned to the White House a year ago, with sparks over trade and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney decrying a rupture in the U.S.-led global order. During a visit to Beijing last week, Carney held a new strategic partnership with China that resulted in a preliminary but landmark trade agreement to reduce tariffs. But Trump warned of serious consequences should the deal be realized. We go to sports now. The Nigeria Premier Football League has dropped 15 places to 91st in the latest International Federation of Football History and Statistics World League ranking for 2025. The league accumulated 171.75 points, falling outside the global top 90 and highlighting declining competitiveness compared to other domestic leagues worldwide. Despite the drop, Nigeria still ranks 12th in Africa under CAF's 5-year ranking system, allowing 2 teams to compete in the Continental Club tournament. Rivers United secured their first point of the 2025-2026 CAF Champions League group stage win after a goalless draw with Zambia's Power Dynamos in Douala. The result leaves both sides with 1 point from 3 matches, complicating their chances of reaching the quarterfinals but keeping qualification hopes alive. Rivers United will next face Power Dynamos and the Pyramid FCs in crucial return fixtures as they seek to revive their continental campaign. A senior German Football Association official says discussions should begin on a possible boycott of the 2026 FIFA World Cup following recent actions by U.S. President Donald Trump. DFB Vice President Oke Klutcher cited rising diplomatic tensions after Trump's comment on Greenland and tariff rates against European nations, including Germany, with France also ruling out a boycott for now and Denmark remaining cautious. The comment signals growing unease among European football authorities. And that's it on Midday News. A quick reminder, Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTime channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now shown on your screen using @GlobalTVNG. I am Ubong Usoro. Bye for now.